What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with a banger of a video. I hope you guys enjoy this one. Drop a like if you do. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And real quick, before we dive in, the Goblin team is hiring, ladies and gentlemen. If you are a talented graphic designer with previous work to show, and you want to collaborate with me on my upcoming merch drop, reach out to my business email, which is in my About section. Please have experience and portfolio ready to go. List your typical pricing and show me some prior work. The entire upcoming merch drop is designed completely by viewers. I want to work with you. If you're watching this video and you make dope art, bang my line. It doesn't just have to be clothing. If you have a cool idea for any sort of design and you think you can bring it to life and want to make some money, shoot me an email. Without further ado, let's dive right into the video. So in today's video, we're coming in with a very fun story. In fact, we're actually coming in with a story about one of my previous graphic designers that I had worked alongside. Funny enough, what a coincidence, right? Now, this took place back in early 2021. I'm talking very early. It was like maybe February at this point. Now, at this point in my life, I was living further south here in Illinois, far away from my hometown, and I also had many legal troubles. So I would very often end up either driving back up north or even catching the very short flight back up north because it was usually cheap and no one's catching that flight. My town was Narnia. I'm shocked they even had an airport, quite honestly. Actually, I'm not very shocked. Listen. They had an airport and it was one flight out a day. I'm not even kidding. And they didn't have a flight out every day. You had to pick and choose. Like, you got something urgent going on Tuesday? Grandma dropped dead on Tuesday? My boy, you got to catch the Wednesday flight, dude. You're going to have to wait on that. But either way, I would kind of flip-flop between how I would go back up north. Now, on this particular trip, I was planning to go back up north just to visit. I didn't have any court dates. I mean, I had some court dates, but not on this particular day. But I just wanted to go up there to kick it with some of my old friends. A couple of my homies were back in town. I don't really know what for because it wasn't a holiday or anything, but I wanted to go up there and link up with the boys for old time's sake. Now, at this point in my life as well, I was also planning a new merch drop a couple years ago, and one of the graphic designers that I was working alongside, we had been chatting, and we had actually become friends. He was a super chill guy, he was good at what he did, and he did some very dope designs for me. Now, I don't know if I want to name the exact designs he did, because I don't think I want to sit here and expose this man like this, but let's just say he did some great work. Now, him and I were chatting, and, it had been brought up that he was also from Illinois, so we were chatting and talking about the designs, and as we were going back and forth, I just mentioned to him that I was going to be out of town. I was like, oh, I'm not going to be home, so I'm probably not going to be on my phone as much or my email, so, if you need anything, just text me, and I slid in my phone number. Now, once I slid in my phone number, we're texting, and he hits me, he's like, yo, so where are you going? And I tell him, I'm like, well, I'm just going back up north to visit my friends, no biggie. Now, he already knew where I lived. I had told him where I lived and shit like that, so he was like, yo, while you're coming up north, let me know if you want to come link up. Here's where I live. Now, this man lived in Kankakee, okay? Kankakee is somewhere that up until this point in my life, I had no idea where it was. I had heard of it just because of the silly little name and I'd seen it on the news, but I had no idea where Kankakee was. For the longest time, I thought Kankakee was like a part of Chicago. I just thought it was real up there, kind of like Oak Park, where it's like right outside of the city, but nope. Kankakee is in Narnia. Bumfuck nowhere, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the route that I would normally take back up to my hometown was pretty straightforward. I would essentially just hop on 55 and drive straight up. No turns, no exits, just a couple 100 miles of booking it, right? But Kankakee is out of the way, dude. Kankakee is in Narnia, as I mentioned before, but I didn't really have much better to do, and I also just didn't give a damn, so I was down. Now, the other issue with this is the fact that at the time, my license was suspended, so driving that far was already a stressful task. However, I'd kind of gotten used to it. I knew which back roads to take going up and going back down because I took the same route pretty much every time. This shook up everything, ladies and gentlemen. This changed everything. So I'm sitting here and I'm downloading the Waze app, dude. I'm debating on buying a radar scanner. I'm sitting here and I'm like, damn, bro. But this was the night before because I left the very next day to go link up with this dude and then go up north with my homies. So I didn't really have much time to prep. I'm sitting there and I'm like, damn, like, what's the most optimal route? Like, what should I do? It turns out that the route it had me take was actually not that different from my normal one. You see, there was certain points where I would get on the highway sometimes if I needed to save some time. But I kind of learned mostly where the cops would post up. Here's a pro tip. If you're driving through Illinois and you're about to pass the town of Bloomington, get the hell off the highway. There's my only pro tip. So I hop in my car the next day and I bring some goodies with me. I had a little bit of weed. I had also brought with some blow because I figured it would be kind of me to bring some party favors, and I didn't really know what this dude was going to want to do. So I hop in the car with my goodies and I hit the road. Now, the drive up to Kankakee from where I was, mainly taking back roads, was, if I remember correctly, about 4 hours, maybe a little bit less, but it's a mission. If you stuck to highways, it would probably be quite a lot less. I mean, even my drive without going to Kankakee on the back roads just up north and back to where I was living was still well over 3 hours. So it didn't make that much of a difference. Maybe an extra like 30 minutes of driving to go to Kankakee instead of go to where I was going, right? So I hit the road and I'm cruising on up there. And listen, at this point, I was heavy into my drug binge, okay? My late 2020 to mid 2021 drug binge was one for the books, okay? It wasn't a very social one. It wasn't one where I was going outside and doing a lot of fun stuff. No, my boy, we were sitting in the crib up for 3 days talking to shadow people, my boy. We were having a hoot solo, but I didn't think I was solo, and that was the magic of it. But either way, so we're whipping and we're driving on up to Kankakee, and it's a smooth ride. If you take the back roads in Illinois, you end up driving through a lot of those really tiny farm towns where everyone there is probably racist and definitely drives a Chevy. Actually, I think you could probably flip that one around. I think it's they're definitely racist and probably drive a Chevy, if not an F-150. But either way, I digress. It's not important. So I'm whipping on up, cruising through these little farm towns, and I hate driving through some of them. There's one that I used to go through called Clinton, and I don't know what the deal is with this Clinton town, but they got a lot of Jakes up in there, all right? Hillary Clinton's got gang up in her namesake town, all right? So I hated driving through that one, but all the other ones were chill. So I'm cruising on up, and every now and then as I was driving, I would just gum a little bit of blow. I wasn't pulling over or doing lines or anything, but I would just gum myself a little bit. You see, I always had my gummies on go, whenever. I wasn't sitting there having to fight with the rocks as I'm driving or having to pull over. No, my boy. If we're leaving the house, we are pre-crushing our gummies and placing them towards the top of the bag to ensure maximum efficiency. And that's exactly what I did. So I'm coked up, driving with no license. My car was not registered. I'm not insured. Driving with felonies in my possession, whipping on up there. Not a care in the world, ladies and gentlemen. I couldn't even get the car I was driving registered to me at the time because I had to get insurance. But it was very hard for me to get insurance because I did not have a license and no one wanted to insure me because of my awful record. So I get up there finally, and I make it up to Kankakee at about 6 or 7 p.m., a pretty reasonable time. So as I'm pulling up, I'm maybe like 20 minutes away from the address this dude sent me. I shoot him a text, and I'm like, yo, bro, I'm about 20 minutes out. And he's like, great, I've been expecting you, I got some shit for you to try, I got some flour, let's link up, So I'm kind of excited. I'm like, bet, let's get it. So I make it to this dude's house, and listen, Kankakee is a very weird place because it's not a small town by any means. It's pretty big, but it is derelict. It is abandoned. It has degenerated over the years, okay? It has just completely lost it. It looks like a scene out of Peaky Blinders that they just never dismantled. This town is fucked. So I get to his house and I dap him up. I already kind of knew what he looked like. He'd posted himself before, so it wasn't any big shock seeing this dude. So I dap him up, I say what's up, and we head inside his crib. Now he had a nice little crib, he had a nice little situation where he had his own place with a couple of roommates. And as I walked in, he introduced me to them. They were all kind of chilling there, and they didn't know who the fuck I was. He's like, yo, this is Goblin. They're like, oh, your name's Goblin? I'm like, nah, bro, just call me Nick, So we sit down, and they're already smoking up. So we got a little sesh going immediately. Now I'm chatting with these guys, getting to know them a little bit, and we're all around the same age group, We're all maybe within 2-3 years of each other. I think these dudes were maybe a year or two older than me, but not by much. Didn't really matter, right? So We're chatting and we decide that it's time to go to the bar. They're suggesting that we hit a bar that's in the area. They're like, yeah, dude, we know the spot, cheap drinks, don't worry about it. So we hop in the whip, right? We all ride in my car. For some reason, I offered to drive, which I don't really know why I offered to drive because I was probably the least qualified dude there. But either way, we all hop in my car and we're off to the races. Now, while we're in my car, I remember that I had brought some blow. So I bust out my bag and I offer it up. I'm like, yo, do you boys need any bumpskis or something before we go in the bar? Like, now's your chance, you know? So they happily indulge. They are ecstatic about it. They're like, damn, like, you brought some blow? Like, fuck yeah. You know, they loved me immediately. So they're taking their gummies as I'm driving to the bar, and the bar is maybe like 5 minutes away, if even, you know? But I couldn't imagine having to navigate this town without maps because it all looks identical. It's copy-pasted, dude. So we make it to the bar, which is probably one of 50 biker bars that look the same, or dive bars in this town. And we get in there, and listen, I already had lived in southern Illinois, central Illinois area, so I know what these kind of towns are like. You see, every town south of, I would say, Joliet in Illinois is exactly the same thing. It is run down, it is derelict, and they have a whole lot of depressed middle-aged men riding Harleys, walking in those bars. That's exactly what this place was, dude. I mean, we pull up, there's bikes just lined up out front. I'm sitting here like, damn, bro, are we joining the Hells Angels today? Like, I'm kind of down, you know? So we get up in the bar. It's dimly lit, it's seedy, and they got a whole lot of slot machines. Now listen, there's nothing wrong with bar slots. In fact, I like them. I think that they usually pay better than the casino ones because the bar wants to keep your ass coming back, right? The problem is, in towns like this, there are slot machines and slot parlors in every building. I'm not joking. We have slot machines in the gas stations anywhere below Joliet. We have slot machines. We have entire dedicated slot parlors where it's not even a casino. It's just some scuffed little building that has a bunch of slot machines in it. And people will go there. There's one that's everywhere. It's called like Lucy's Place or something like that. It is scuffed. But that is how I gauge how bad the area I'm in is, right? That's how I gauge my safety in the vicinity. If there is more than one slot parlor in a 2-mile radius, lock your doors and hold on tight to your strap because you cannot be lacking in this area. And that was the entirety of Kankakee. Slot parlors deep in that bitch. So we're chilling at this bar, having some drinks, very loud in there, and I'm not really drinking too much because I'm more interested in getting geeked, you know? So I kept dipping off to the bathroom and gumming a little bit more blow and coming back. So while they're all getting some drinks, I'm getting geeked, and eventually we decide that it's time to play the slots. Listen, if you're at the bar, you gotta go chuck a couple bucks in the slot machine over there. I mean, it's part of the fun. It's part of the culture. So we go over to the slots, and out of the 4 of us that were there was only 2 of us that were actually playing. It was myself and another one of my homies' roommates. So we're chilling out at the slots, and we're gaming it up, and after a little bit goes by, I don't win shit. However, homeboy, who I don't think we gave him a name yet. You know what? We're just gonna call him roommate. All right, so roommate homeboy, he hit. My boy hit, dude. He hit a squirter, bro. He didn't even hit like it wasn't even a bonus or anything. He just got some crazy ass spin, and this man ran up like $120 off that spin alone. So this dude's hype, bro. He can't believe it. He's like, yo, like, let's fucking go, dude. Like, we got money. Like, we got dope money, you know? This guy's literally in the bar yelling, we got dope money. Nobody gives a damn. That's how you know you're in a questionable area, okay? If anyone walked into a bar in the area I'm living in right now and said they have dope money, they're probably getting pepper sprayed, right? Down there, hell nah, dude. You're more than welcome, my boy. So we're hype. We can't believe it, right? And he immediately suggests, he's like, yo, bro. He says some dude's name. I don't remember the guy's name, but like he's like, we got to hit Plug up, you know? And I didn't know who that was at first. So I'm like, yeah, you know, like, yeah, hit your homie up or whatever. Turns out they were trying to get themselves some Yerkies. They were trying to get a little bit of Percocet. Now, you guys know me. I've never been a guy who cares for opiates very much. But you know, when I'm intoxicated and I'm high on other things, you know, I'll kind of indulge in pretty much anything that's presented to me outside of meth or heroin. So when the opportunity arose to consume some perks, I was kind of down. Sober me would not have made this decision, but me after a couple drinks, some weed, and some cocaine, yeah, I'll make a lot of decisions. So we dip out of this bar immediately. Like, I'm not even kidding. These guys were damn near doing a perky dance in the parking lot. He cashed that ticket out, and we skedaddled, dude. We were gone. So we hop back in the car, and we drive back to the crib. And as we get there, the plug man was already there waiting for us, dude. These guys had the most eager perky plug I've ever met in my entire life. So we get in there, right? And we're chilling out in the living room once again. Plug man is there, and he's got a bag on him. Now, I didn't know how many they were planning to buy. I didn't, like, specifically ask for any of them. They had just kind of offered. They were like, yeah, you know, if you want some, we got you. So I was just kind of letting them take the reins. I was like, hey, I'll just throw the money, you know, like, after you guys decide how many you want. These guys are some fiends, bro. These guys are some fiends, dude. Now, let me tell you, here was the first red flag, okay? These sons of bitches got 25 of these things for the small amount of money that we won. Now, we won, I think it was like $120 or something around that, maybe a couple dollars more or less. So that averages out to like $5 a perk. Yo, these were the Fenty Yerkies, okay? These were absolutely abominable, dude. Just the most questionable substance I could have been putting in my body. But at the same time, you know, I didn't care. Hey, cocaine, liquor, and weed in the system, I add a little fentanyl, dude. Fuck it, you know? So they make the serve, you know, they do the little transaction, plug man dips out, and we're off to the races. Now, these dudes immediately start crushing them up. They are not into popping them, and I'm like, okay, hey, my kind of dudes right here, you know, like, hey, I like this, you know? So they start crushing them up, and they offer me the first line, which I was honored. I couldn't believe it. I felt like royalty at this point. I thanked them. I could not believe it. I was like, yo, you know, just let me know how much to throw, and I got you guys. And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. Super chill dudes, right? So I go in and take my line. Now, these dudes chopped me up a fatty, which, to be fair, most prescription pills break down into a lot of powder. Percocets are no exception, but these were not prescription. No. These were definitely not prescription. These things were fucked. In fact, they were so fucked that the coloring on them was not even matching. Like, they were a solid color. It wasn't none of that rainbow Percocet shit that you be seeing nowadays, right? They were a solid color, but not like a matching solid color, right? Like, they were different shades of the blue on these, right? It was weird. And what really threw me off is that they were blue. However, they weren't even imitating 30s. They were imitating 10s. And as far as I'm aware, I may be incorrect here. I was never a big Percocet guy, so correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure they never made blue 10s. So that right out the gate should have been a very large red flag for me. But I thought nothing of it because it was 2021 and we're getting off good drugs. So I went in and I railed my line immediately. And, you know, at this point, I'd kind of come down off the coke. I was feeling maybe like lightly buzzed off the liquor, but the coke had kind of canceled that out. So I was feeling, I'd say, relatively close to sober at this point, at least compared to how I was feeling earlier. But after I did this line, I sat there and immediately my entire nose was just caked up. That's the thing that I hate most about snorting pills, is that I feel like no matter what pill you put up your nose, it's gonna cake your nostrils, bro. It sucks. It sucks. I hate it, right? But these had some extra caking to them, right? So I rail this shit, and it is stuck in my nostril. I do the classic trick of pulling my cheekbone aside and trying to inhale, plug in my other nostril. It does a little bit, but not much. Eventually, after quite a bit of inhaling, I get the big chunk of goop, the big chunk of Fenty powder and fillers that are stuck in my nose down the hatch. Now, this shit tasted questionable. I personally believe that most prescription pills, you know, if they don't have a very, you know, out there taste like Xanax, they taste kind of similar, you know, at least in my experience. They have an almost chalky taste. Or maybe that's a texture. Is chalky a texture? I don't think that's really a taste. I don't know. Either way, we'll just move on from that. So I got this goop down the hatch, and I felt it immediately. I felt almost this inner release, and these pills were absolutely awful looking. So I knew pretty quickly after doing these, I was like, yeah, I don't know what I just did, you know, but I don't feel too bad after all. I was feeling lit. I cannot deny it. I was feeling fantastic. I felt this looseness come over me. This real just like you know? It was like a Xanax, but physically. It was kind of hard to describe. It was really, really impressive that it hit me that hard off just one line, though. So I was sitting there just, and these were supposed to be perk 10s, mind you. Perk 10s, my dick and balls. No perk 10 line is hitting that hard, dude. But I didn't give a damn, right? I was sitting there big chilling, you know? So I'm vibing out. I'm feeling good off my first line. They're all doing big boy lines, bro. They're doing 2 lines each at a time. I guess I was expected to be doing 2 like the rest of them because after they all got done, there was still 1 line left. They offered it to me, and I was like, fuck it, dude. I'll split it with somebody, but I don't want the whole one because I don't do opiates like that. So I split the line with homie, right? I split the line with my graphic designer homie, who I just realized I haven't given a name to yet. I don't know why. What an oversight. I don't know. We'll just call him GD, graphic designer. So I split my line with GD, right? So me and GD, we're doing our lines. We're feeling good. And after that second half line, right? After that second little bit that I did, I was gone, right? I had ascended at this point. You see, for me, at least, when I would do opiates, very rarely would I get much of a mental effect. You know, I could still think fairly clearly because I would never get to the point where I was like borderline unconscious or drooling. I only ever enjoyed doing them in small doses just to feel a little bit of relaxation, a little bit of you know what I'm saying? They're dangerously addictive. Don't ever do perks or any other opiate. But I'm an idiot and I don't follow my own advice. So I was feeling fantastic, like I was on a damn cloud, bro. And we're chilling on the couch, and these guys are rolling up another joint. Big joint rollers in this crib, right? So I threw in my weed to match, and I bust out the blow, and I'm like, yo, let's do some more fucking shots, dude. Like, let's get to it. So I chop up another line for everybody, a line for every individual. That is an American right? I chop it up. I do my line and I pass it around. And the line, it was weird because it was like the opiate effect was so strong that I barely even felt the line. I felt the numbness, you know, after I had done most of my line, I had put aside a little bit for gummies as always. And I felt the numbness in my teeth, you know, I felt the gummies, but it did not counteract my opiate high in any way, which was really weird to me. It didn't bring me back at all. It's not like doing a line after you're drunk as fuck. No, I felt none of that effect. It was more so just like a mental thing of, a little more cocaine in the system. That's awfully nice, you know? So I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow, well, this is just a complete waste of money, you know, like this. Maybe I shouldn't have busted out this coke, but they're all taking their lines and we're chilling out. Now, these guys are demons with it, dude. They kept chopping up these perk 10s throughout the entire night, dude. I was there for another like 3 hours, and the entire time, these guys were just chopping up more. Now, I drew the line there because even though I was fucked up, I still knew that I didn't want to do a ton, right? And I was feeling good. This shit was strong, and it was hitting. I had next to no tolerance to any sort of opiates at all, so I didn't need any more for the rest of the night. I was gliding, dude. But I'm sitting there and I'm watching these guys do more, and I realized pretty quickly that these dudes were some hardcore fiends, bro. These guys would get to the point where they were just completely incapacitated. By the time I got up and left, I kind of waited to sober up a little more before finishing my drive and getting back to where I was headed. And by the time I left, it was like 10 p.m., maybe 11, and, you know, everyone was just crippled. These dudes were pretty much drooling on themselves by the time I left. I didn't dap anyone up on my way out, not because I didn't want to, but because they were physically incapable of returning the dap. So I eventually got up out of there and dipped. And the next day I hit homie up and I asked him, I was like, yo, you guys good? Because like they were conscious. It's not like they were all passed out, but like they were dysfunctional. These guys were sitting there and it's like they were made out of stone. Like they got hit with Medusa, you know? They're just sitting there staring at the TV like, you know? They could say a couple words. They're like, oh, peace out, bro, you know? But that's really it. So I was like, well, these guys all have fried about half of their brain cells, if not 3/4. It's time for me to skedaddle. So that's exactly what I did. I hopped back in the unregistered, uninsured whip without my driver's license, with hard drugs on me, and I drove back up to my mother's house to stay there because my mom, for some reason on this trip up, was kind enough to let me stay at her house. Most of the time she would say hell no, but I guess maybe she missed me a little bit. She actually invited me to stay, and I was more than happy to oblige, so I did. But listen, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to drop a like if you did. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And also, if you're a talented graphic designer or artist and you want to work with me, don't forget to hit my email with examples of your work in the bio. I won't click links, so just embed them in the email. Please and thank you. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out, gamers.